大変お待たせいたしました。
Thank you for the wait. We would like to resume the conference. We would now like to start the session 1, Carbon Neutrality and Digitalization as the Power to Solve Regional Issues. So it's going to be a panel discussion. First, I would like to introduce the speakers of this panel. So from Tokushima Prefecture, we are joined by Mayor of Tokushima City, 2022 Future SDGs Future City. Her name is Ms. Naito Sawako. And from Nissan Motor Company, we are joined by Mr. Goto Osamu, Vice President and External and Government Affairs. And from the Swedish Embassy, we are joined by Ambassador Per-Erik Hergenberg, Ambassador to Japan. Also, we are joined by Mr. Takenaka Mitsugi, who is the mayor of Kamishihoro town of Hokkaido, which is also SDGs Future City in 2021. Facilitator is Missy Nishi Kyoko, who is the Deputy Director General Office for Promotion of Overcoming Population Decline and Vitalizing Local Economy, Cabinet Office of Government of Japan. I would like to hand over to Ms. Nishi, please.
Thank you for the kind introduction. I'm Nishi Kyoko. I will facilitate this panel discussion. Before we start, I'd like to explain the intent and background behind this session. In order to accelerate the growth of future sustainability, the government aims to address social challenges by discontinuous innovation and use it as a growth engine to realize a new capitalism. Especially in growth areas such as green and digital, they will accelerate public investment and use it as a catalyst to boldly bring in private investment, aiming to promote various transformations through regeneration. More specifically, in regards to green transformation, GX, decarbonization will help us achieve a drastic transformation of economic and social structure, and in terms of DX, digital transformation, since it is a source of creating new added values and the key to resolving social challenges. We'd like to strongly proceed with initiatives for promoting DX investment. In this session, by sharing and communicating various initiatives to address social challenges using GX and DX as driving forces, we are looking forward to promoting regional revitalization initiatives both in and outside Japan. Now, we'd like to invite the panelists to introduce their own initiatives regarding solving regional challenges by using carbon neutrality and digitalization as the power. First, Ms. Sawako Naito, the mayor of Tokushima City in Tokushima Prefecture. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon. My name is Naito Sawako. I'm the mayor of Tokushima City. So I would like to talk about sustainable recycling-based community development of Tokushima City. First, I would like to introduce myself. Up until high school, I grew up in Tokushima, my hometown, and then I went to Tokyo. And during my student years, I took interest in community development of Tokushima City, and I organized urban development competition. I also involved NPOs and companies. I created a small network so that from the perspective of the students, I could contribute to the community development of Tokushima City. And in April 2021, I was elected as the mayor of Tokushima City, and this is my third year, or end of the third year as a mayor of Tokushima City. So Tokushima City is the city I'm responsible, so I would like to give you an outline. So there are 134 rivers in Tokushima City. It's called the Water City. And also the downtown area is surrounded by rivers. And the topography, this downtown shaped like a gourd, so it's called Hyotan Island because it looks like a gourd. and it provides a lot of content that are enjoyed by the citizens. And also, with regard to the revitalization of this downtown, last year in March, the downtown of Tokushima had the basic plan for the revitalization of Tokushima City that was approved by the government. So we continue to implement this plan to revitalize the city. I also, as a politician, I'm promoting the diversity within the city. Women and other parties should live with the sense of security within our city. And our onna, our women, is the nickname for the women in Tokushima, and many of them hold high positions in the society, like a president of a company. So they are very much empowered. So these are the initiatives we take to pursue the SDGs. And last year in May, we were designated as a SDG Future City. So as a SDGs Future City, we are implementing this model district formation project. In the interest of time, I cannot go into details, but in order to realize SDGs, we are making advanced initiatives within the downtown area, so-called Hyotanjima. Environmental development, and also we're trying to involve more citizens in economic activities, and so that we could continue to grow our economy. Through this project, we would like to generate a lot of synergies. Now, as for the decarbonization, which is relevant to today's topic, in Tokushima City, we also have a direction towards decarbonization. Hours of sunlight in Tokushima is quite long, so we would like to take advantage of that characteristics to achieve local production and consumption of the renewable energy, so that we could take an integrated approach to solving Tokushima City's various challenges. Now, I would like to now focus on the sightseeing boats, the tour boats. I have been talking about the Hyotanjima downtown area, and it is surrounded by rivers, and also there is a tour boat going through under the bridges. The NPO Association to Protect the Shinmachi River, whose chair is engaged in various activities such as cleaning of the rivers and riverbanks, so forth, to drive this initiative. As I am also engaged in urban community development, and I'm also a member of the volunteers to keep this environment clean. And also, if there are tourists, I would help them take pictures. Every year, more than 50,000 people take the boat tour, and it is one of the symbolic tourism assets of Tokushima City. And also our citizens familiarize themselves on a day-to-day basis with these rivers. And what we're trying to do is now to electrify these tour boats. This initiative is not only taken in charge by the Tokushima City, because we are trying to promote a public-private partnership. So we are getting the help from Yamaha Motor, so that high-efficiency motor-driven tour boat could be introduced. So it is called the next generation electric ship handling system Harumo, that offered by Yamaha Motor. So we are trying to implement that, and also we are trying to introduce the green energy to drive this boat. We are now implementing a demonstration test. The next stage is to build a solar power generation system for self-consumption to achieve carbon neutral boat operation. With regard to this initiative, it is not only to electrify the tour boat. We would also like to achieve the advantage of electrification, for example, the quietness, and because it would provide a lot of the positive effects on the tourism, so people could enjoy the quiet environment and so forth. And I also was on board this tour boat, and it's very quiet. You can listen to the music, and also you could enjoy eating on the water. And I think it would be very, very interesting and the tourism asset if you could successfully implement this electric boat. Now, going forward, from the electrification of the boat, we would like to expand these activities to entire city area. Well, this is a future prospect, meaning that it's going to happen in the future. At this moment, we don't really have a concrete roadmap towards the carbon neutral achievement for the entire city, but hopefully we could promote our activities to create a circular city. In addition to that, the SDGs, the Future City project is being implemented, and the boardwalk renovation, reuse of the wood deck materials for refurbishment of park boardwalks instead of incineration is being implemented so that we could continue to make efforts to reduce environmental impact and to create an area where economic activities and environment are compatible. Well, I've talked about the electric boat, but diversity and the private sector efforts will join our efforts to continue to make active efforts towards achieving the future city with carbon neutrality. As was introduced by the mayor in 2022, it is designated as SDGs, the future city. So we can expect a lot of positive activities from the Tokushima city.
Next speaker is Mr. Goto Osamu, Vice President, External Government Affairs of Nissan Motor Corporation. Hello, everyone. I'm Goto from Nissan Motors. Now, I'd like to introduce our initiatives, the town development using digitalization. This is called Blue Switch. The Nissan's histories of EV development. We've been working on EV development for a long time. The first EV was launched in 1947. This is called Tama, the first model of EV, but battery was only the very short, and the storage the batteries, and the mileage was very short. It was not so successful, but the environment has been changed over the time, and the carbon neutral is getting the clear pictures, and 2010 onwards. We first launched the Nissan Leaf in 2010. And it has been evolved. The second generation of Nissan Leaf was launched in 2017 and followed by Ariya in 2022. And you can see Nissan Sakura. We have increased the product lineup of EV and we sold 700,000 units globally, and also domestically 190,000 units have been sold so far. And most characteristics of EV is a battery is a key of the development of the car, but we have never had an accident that have been caused by the batteries. So this is proves our high quality of the technologies. And using EV, we try to solve various regional challenges. This activity is called Blue Switch, and we started this activity in 2018. But EV, we are not just taking EV, but based on the characteristic of EV, we can do more than that. First, we have a CO2 emission free, so we can contribute to the development of the city, the green city. And also, this is called the storage batteries. In case of the emergency or the disasters, this can be served as the battery. And also, this can be charged or discharged. Even at the household, you can charge EVs. So in the regional areas, now the number of gas stations has been decreasing in regional areas. But if they can charge EV at the household, they can save time for charging. As Maya mentioned earlier, this is very quiet. So the environment is great. Now the autonomous the vehicle is under development, so the mobile space can be used for leisure and the business as well. And I'd like to introduce some examples. First is EV and energy management. And in Fukushima, Namie town in Fukushima Prefecture, this is a POC experiment. The EV batteries and using AI, we create the information management system. The cars will be used in timely manner. And using AI, we predict the time to be used. So today we use cars for long hours, so we have to charge them well. But if we don't use the cars, we can discharge that. So electricity usage should be 100% using these EV vehicles. And electricity itself, we can collect the electricity based on the solar power. So leaf and combination of leaf and the solar power, this can contribute to the elimination and the reduction of carbon emission. And EV and also tourism, this is another example of regional revitalization. In Aso City, and we have EV. This is also supported by the Ministry of Environment, the national park. If you can come to the national park by EV, you can have a discount of the admissions for national park. So this encouraged more people to use EV. And if they use EV more often, we can give benefits to them. So this is encouraging them to further penetrate EV in the city. Number 3, the EV and tourism. This year, in November, in Kyoto City, there are 3 taxi companies. So we collaborate with those taxi companies, and our car, Sakura, is used as taxi. Of course, in taxi, there are very narrow streets. So those small compact cars are very handy and very quiet and also eco-friendly. And Kyoto is advanced prefectures of the environment friendly. So they have implemented EV as a taxis, and according to the mileage of the taxi, they give the donation. So Kyoto tourists have the donation depending on the mileage of those taxis. And these Blue Switch activities started in 2018, and 205 municipalities have adopted Blue Switch activities. And in collaboration with the companies, regions, we have partnership. We don't go into details, but also we have the partnership in terms of emergency. If they have the blackout and no electricity, this car will help them charge. And also in the dark, in case of blackout, this EV will be helpful. And from Hokkaido in the north and across Japan to Kyushu in south. So almost all the prefectures have similar activities. Lastly, our initiative. Okay, I want to talk. So I haven't covered the disaster point. 3 years ago in Chiba Prefecture, we were hit by typhoon. For 15 days, Tokyo Electricity Company couldn't provide power to the region, and we, Nissan Motors, provided 50 units of leaf to Chiba, Minami Boso area. So there, they charged electricity. The 40 kilowatt per hour battery is provided, and also 60 power per hour an hour was provided. So they charged the mobile phones using those EVs. So from one leaf can charge 6,000 mobile phones. Of course, it takes time. But the people evacuated to the evacuation center, they can charge their mobile phone from EV. And when we experience blackout, it's too dark. So this can be used as electricity in case of emergency. What's good about leaf is very quiet. So they can provide the power while it's very quiet. So some people are sleeping at night, but while they are sleeping, this can charge electricity. And also, the people want hot drinks, so they can enjoy the miso soup when they're evacuated. So EVs, this is very helpful for us. So now we'd like to show you the video. Thank you very much. Now I close my presentation. Mr. Goto, thank you very much. Now, EV is collaborating with local governments, not only decarbonization, but also it contributes to the revitalization of the region. And in case of the disaster, this is a part of the lifeline. And next speaker is Mr. Per-Erik Herik, Swedish ambassador to Japan.
Oh, thank you very much, and let me speak in English so you don't have to listen to me struggling in Nihongo. I think before I start, I would like to introduce the governor of Stockholm City. The organizers have been kind enough to also ask him to join with the video message and tell you a little bit about my capital, Stockholm, and what he is doing. So we start with that, I presume.
Thank you for the invitation to participate in this important forum. I am privileged to be the county governor of Stockholm, a county with 2.4 million inhabitants, and where Stockholm, the capital of Sweden, lies at the heart of the county. We have an archipelago of almost 30,000 islands, and half of the county's surface is forest. Stockholm County is one of Europe's fastest growing metropolitan regions. By the 2050, 3.4 million people are expected to live in the county. The Stockholm region is enjoying strong economic growth, although we have also been hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, war in Europe, the energy crisis and rising inflation. Stockholm County accounts for almost a third of Swedish GDP and has come a long way in the transition to a greener economy with relatively low climate and environmental impact. We also have, in many ways, a good living environment of residents with our proximity to nature and water. By 2045, Sweden will have zero net emissions on greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. The 2030 Agenda and the global goals provide a basis of creating economic, social and ecological sustainability. Stockholm is taking advantage of the opportunities offered by digitalization in Stockholm. Country over 98% of households have access to broadband. Stockholm is one of the world's leading tech startup cities. International companies such as Spotify and Skype have been launched here. Stockholm offers an entrepreneurial ecosystem that attracts international talent from around the world. Add to this region's tradition of tackling environmental issues and fact that Stockholm is reducing emissions at the same time, and you have the foundation of one of Europe's most vibrant clean tech clusters. The reasons for the success of Stockholm's clean tech sector are often cited as integrated and holistic urban planning, close links between public institutions and private enterprise, combined with strict regulation. An example of the latter is Stockholm's official target to make the region CO2-free by 2040. This drives a dynamic market of alternative fuels and renewable energy. Stockholm is where technology meets sustainability, and the county managed to increase its GDP while reducing emissions. Several municipalities are working intensively and developing architectural policies and social value creation analysis, actively working on children's perspectives, safety, multifunctional spaces, and accessibility, and design public places with quality design in the planning processes. Stockholm County, together with the counties of Eastern and Middle Sweden, is a global center for the development and manufacture of heavy vehicles. Nearly a third of all Swedish employees in the automotive industry are concentrated here. The transport systems and the automotive industry are undergoing a transformation linked to climate targets and the adaptation of society to sustainability. Countries, and not least cities, are pushing for changing regulatory requirements that drive the direction of the market. A robust and well-functioning transport system requires more than electric vehicles. Urban planning infrastructure, investments, laws, regulation, taxes, fees, and permits come from the public sector. Not least, the issue of charging infrastructure in the center. Stockholm has chosen to invest in electric buses because they have almost no local emissions and provide quieter traffic than traditional buses. Already today, all the buses in the county run on renewable fuels and are almost entirely fossil-free. But introducing electric buses, Stockholm is taking another step towards emission-free public transport and a major step towards climate responsibility. In order to achieve the national climate targets, and a large proportion of bus traffic through Sweden needs to be electrically powered by 2030. There is also climate change mitigation in the archipelago with a focus on the electric boating and renewable fuels for boating. And with that, I will finish by saying I am looking forward to continuing the fruitful and sustainable cooperation between Tokyo and Stockholm and between our countries. Thank you. Arigato. Gosamashihita.
Shall I continue? Arigato, thank you. So that was Stockholm. So let me now for a few minutes talk about Sweden and talk about more the rural areas. This was from our capital. First of all, I'm very happy to be back. I joined online a couple of years ago in this conference, and it's wonderful to be meeting people in person this time. Last time I talked more about the individual's role in a smart and sustainable climate neutral development. Now I want to talk more about DX and GX. But first of all, Sweden is a fairly small country in population, 10 million people compared to Japan's 126, even though our country is bigger in geography, which means that most of Sweden is actual rural. So if there's only one message you will remember from my talk today, I think I want it to be that the Swedish experience is that rural is not a problem. Rural is rather an opportunity. So let's move to the next slide. Together with the rest of the Nordic neighbors, Sweden is a highly digitalized society. A dominating share of private and public services take place online, including everything from banking, grocery shopping, going to the library, do your tax declaration, job application, visit the doctors, or paying back a small loan to my friend of 10,000 yen. You do it via switch over your mobile phone. Sweden takes third place in the IMD World Digital Competitiveness Ranking. 96% of all household and business have access to fiber and fast broadband. We are also considered to be one of the most innovative countries in the world, and of course, a country of the Nobel Prize needs to be that. Digitalization of the Swedish society has met very little resistance from its people and very little debate. Why? That's because most citizens and business of Sweden feels that digital solutions are considered a simplification. So this is important. There's really a strong demand by the individuals living in my country to go more digital. It's not something that is pushed out from governments or companies. It's a huge demand. And thanks to early reforms subsidizing personal computers in the 90s, and expanding high-speed internet to most of the countries starting already in the 2000s, a large share of the population is really used to being digital. And I remember, I'm 55, when I was in high school in the 80s, we were really starting already with computers to get used to it. And my mother, who is over 80, she's also fairly digitalized, and this has been a strong effort by authorities to make it easy for everyone to participate. Apart from high connectivity, also rural areas of Sweden in regional revitalization today is closely connected to the pursuit of reaching the SDGs. So for us, and I think for everyone, DX and GX, they go hand in hand. In fact, the green transformation of society, I would argue, is hardly possible without a high digital literacy. Digital solutions are used to shorten waiting times for citizens in contact with authorities, and AI is used for smart streets, like smart street lights. So when people walk there, they turn on. If there's no one there, they go black. When vehicles come, the lights go on. When there's no vehicles there, the lights go out. So I think there's a different way of using digital solutions for this. Agriculture is also quickly developing into a highly digitalized sector to following crops developments, but also with dairy farming and to support cows where Swedish companies are making mechanical milking and mechanical dairy farming really a solution for the future. Sweden's first permanent electric road will open in 2025. So I would like to argue that the green transformation is, in fact, digital. So let's move to the northern parts of Sweden and take a look at Norrbotten and Västerbotten. You see the piece that is cut out there from the map. Just to give you a little indication, there are only 500,000 people living here, but the size is bigger than Hokkaido and Kyushu put together. And most Swedes consider this a very remote area. For decades, many parts of the northern Sweden have been depopulating. But today, we can see a new trend, and people are moving to the north. Why? Thanks to green transition of the society. This is the part of Sweden where hydro energy is abundant. So electricity is abundant up here, and new industries are establishing themselves to shape the green industrial revolution. A few concrete examples. Thanks to big investment in production of CO2-free steel and battery factories. We just heard about batteries both in boats and cars, but we have CO2-free steel and battery factories for the auto industry, including the full recycling chain. Regions which have been depopulating before for decades are now once again growing. And they are attracting international competence to the new industries and to their subsidiaries. And that also requires housing, new school, culture, and so on. The projects are carried out in a public-private partnership, and Västerbotten and Norrbotten, those two places that you saw, they're expecting a population growth of up to 20% to 2035. So a population growth of 20%, of course a lot of immigrants, but still, because of the transformation to green. Car makers are investing in Northvolt, a startup that produces batteries, and they have brought more than 6,000 employees in a few years. Facebook data centers are built in the northern parts of Sweden because the energy prices are low and it's cold, so you don't need air conditioning to cool it down. The Swedes, and to the Swedes, both in the private and in the public sector, it's obvious that digital and green transformation is not only necessary to reach our common global development goals, it's also an opportunity to build smart and sustainable human-centered societies. And to do that is a huge business opportunity. That's what we say to our business often. The future of business is in green transformation. If you don't join it, you will go out of business eventually. In conclusion, 5 final points. Digitalization in Sweden is demand-driven. The Swedes understand that they benefit from digitalization. Number 2, the green transition is digital. Number 3, remote areas are not seen as a problem. It's an opportunity for new innovation and green innovation. Number 4, trust in the system is key. So government authorities, prefectures, regions, municipalities must build and show trust in these digital systems, that they are reliable, transparent, and trustable. And finally, to reach the Sustainable Development Targets, it's not someone else's responsibility. And I think this is also a main message from me, that it's every individual living in Sweden, every individual living in Japan, or every individual globally needs to realize that it's not someone else's responsibility. By our action, by the way we live, consume, plan, and do our business, we also influence the future of our common planet. Thanks for listening to the Swedish experiences. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, very much. DX, GX is the theme of this session, and it is the pillar of current era. With the power of digital, Well, as Mr. Okada said at the beginning, the concept of the basic policy for the digital garden city national concept is that being in a rural area actually is an opportunity. So Ambassador sort of adequately explained why there are opportunities in rural area with DX Green and DGX initiatives. So now we would like to call upon the mayor of the Kami-Shihoro town of Hokkaido, Mr. Takenaka, please. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Takenaka, mayor of Kami-Shihoro town of Hokkaido. Using SDGs, how we can develop a sustainable community is the topic of my talk. So being a rural area is actually brings a lot of opportunity, which is very encouraging and inspiring to hear. Now I'd like to give you an outline of the Kami-Shihoro town. Kami-Shihoro town is in the center of the Hokkaido. The size is about 700 square kilometers with the population of about 5,000. And number of cattle fed is 47,000. So the livestock industry is very, very big in our town. We have a fertile land, and so the food self-sufficiency rate is 3,500%. And also raw milk production accounts 137,000 tons per year, meaning that we could supply more than 1 liter per person in Japan. Also, biogas power generation using the excretion of the cattle is being implemented so to become self-sufficient in terms of biogas power generation, electric supply. Now I'd like to talk about initiatives for economy, society, and environment. We would like to resolve we would like to create the business to resolve the community issues. And using the biogas power generation, we would like to create a new employment, and also towards the zero carbon economy. Through the various initiatives, we would like to bring about the virtuous cycle. In the society, we would like to use the autonomous driving bus, and we would like to implement AI technology to improve the convenience for the citizens, the residents. And in terms of the environment, we would like to pursue carbon neutrality and continue to pursue at the same time convenience and resilience of this area. So economy, society, environment would be the pillars through which we would like to achieve harmonization and then create sustainable urban development through smart town construction and zero carbon realization. Now I'd like to talk about the Kami-Shihoro MaaS project, Mobility as a Service project. First of all, I'd like to talk about the local transportation system. In a rural area, we provide a new transportation services. It is the on-demand operation with advanced booking system. Using tablets and other devices, you could book in advance very easily, and we could provide pick-up and drop-off services. And we could, at the same time, reduce the operation of a bus by 70%. So we could efficiently use the available buses, and at the same time, we could increase the number of users by 2.4-fold. Now I'd like to talk about the autonomous driving buses. Since 2017, we have been implementing performance operational demonstration test in dedicated spaces with closed municipal roads so as to identify the issues. And based on the findings of the demonstration test starting from December last year towards achieving level 4, we have started the demonstration test for the operation in the winter time. In the future, we were afraid that there will be a scarcity of the drivers. So with this service, hopefully we could overcome that issue. Now I'd like to talk about the drones. During the night time, sometimes people would be lost in the mountains. So using the drones, we could find the people who are lost, and so distress rescue would be much easier. So this is nighttime distress rescue using the drone. Now, also, we use drones to deliver some packages rather than using trucks. Well, we could combine the truck transportation and the drone transportation to reduce the energy and to optimize the logistics within this community. Now, this is the drone show 2021 during the Christmas time. We used the drones to draw beautiful pictures like this. This year in March, we are also organizing this drone show through the crowdfunding. We would like to fund this event in March. There are other initiatives that we are taking. So, high-speed telecommunication network. Such infrastructure need to be developed, and also we need to continue to promote agriculture, which is the key industry for us, and as well as the digitalization to increase the convenience for the residents. Optimization of transportation, logistics through integrated operation of people and goods will be pursued, and also the improved efficiency and the quality of administrative services through the promotion of digitalization need to be implemented so that the entire town can move towards achieving the SDGs. Thank you.
竹中町長、ありがとうございました。
Mr. Takenaka, thank you very much. And the city has only 50 million, and the cars are 70,000, and the very high self-sufficiency rate, and they are working on renewable energy. So the town used to be originally the circular city, but they are working harder to achieve the smart town and introducing various initiatives. Now we'd like to open the floor for discussion. We'll cover 2 discussion points in this session. First point is a direction to introduce decarbonization and the schemes to encourage it. We have 15 minutes for discussion, so 3 minutes are allocated to each panelist. First, Ms. Naito, Mayor of Tokushima, I'd like to have your comment. Tokushima as a water city, you're working on various POCs, but also in order to implement the decarbonization, what are the concrete schemes? It says, I think this cannot be achieved by local government only, so the private and also public partnership, and also how to collaborate with private companies. Thank you very much. Yes, toward the evolution of Tokushima as a water city, I'd like to explain about the concrete schemes. And I talked about the electrification of the boats. Regarding electrification, introduction or implementation of the electrification is not enough. Of course, as Mr. Hegberry mentioned, the SDG, the future city development, we have to have the ownership because we have to create and realize this electrification together. So first, we have to have the ownership, and every individual in the city should have their own initiative. So they should be aware of this goal. And when executing POC, of course, it takes cost, and we need to secure the financing. As a Tokushima city, we are going to manage the budget, but after implementation of this initiative, so we have to establish a scheme without taking too much burdens on the local government. As the SoftBank's president mentioned, we have to create a system together. And it is important to be done in the partnership of the private and public enterprises. And the point to successful the partnership, of course, we should have the ownership, but also the local government together with the public sector, we have to be aware of the common challenges, and we have to bring our knowledge and expertise to think about the best scheme. And regarding electrification of the boat, this cannot be achieved by local government. And also, toward the future city, future SDG city. As Tokushima, we want to have set up the council of the future city of Tokushima. And also, we open the platform of the private-public partnership, and we have set up the contact to receive any inquiries and address any challenges. But individually, as a mayor, using SNS like Twitter or Facebook, we want to have the active conversation with various stakeholders in a timely manner. Thank you very much. As the mayor mentioned, Tokushima city, she introduced about the council of the SDGs future city. I have looked at many examples nationwide. This council was just launched, and there are 3 subcommittees: the future and the partnership and others. Of course, as for the future initiative, children have to talk about it. And in order to achieve the future goal, there are different subcommittees, and they will collect the voices from different stakeholders to achieve the goal. And next, Mr. Goto, as a private company, what is your take on this? EV penetration will help the tourism revitalization and also the helpful tools for disaster prevention. But the blue switch activities, I have looked at those activities. I think the public partnership has proceeded very much. But what role should be played by companies? First of all, the roles we have to play. We are a car company. We have to sell cars. So that we provide a comfortable mobile tool to everyone. But the times have changed, and the values of the car is beyond that, especially in terms of EV and the environment values, and also resilience in case of emergency or disaster. The car has a lot of values, but we want to make this, we have to communicate the values of cars. And also, as Swedish ambassador mentioned, I think we have a far way to go to achieve the goal. But in Europe, 20 or 30% of total sales of cars are EVs. And in the US, it's 5%. But Japan, we are reaching barely 2%, the percentage of the EV. So we have to communicate to the audience first the importance and also values of EVs. And in order to communicate to the consumers, our Blue Switch activity is a part of communication with consumers. But those who don't know EV and the values of EV, how to communicate the benefits to them. And of course, this is a partly promotional communication. EVs, the shorter mileage and the cost is very high, and also charging station is short. There are many criticism, but we are now expanding, and also we have improved the technologies of the mileage. So now the currently EV's mileage has improved. And also the number of gas stations has increased. So there are many charging stations now. And the government has provided subsidy. So in terms of EV, the hurdles is become smaller. But first we have to communicate to the audience or the consumers about the EV and the benefit of EV, not as a mobile tool, but this will contribute to the decarbonization. So I want to penetrate EV further.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much. Actually, we have 2 topics. So before we move on to the second topic to discuss, we heard about what private sector company is doing and what municipalities in Japan are doing. We also heard from Sweden. So now I would like to invite an ambassador to make some comments. So what are your impressions of the public-private sector initiatives in Japan, and how do you feel about them as a country which is very advanced with SDGs efforts? We would appreciate your comment, Ambassador.
Thank you so much. I've been in Japan now for 3.5 years. I love your country. It's a fantastic place. And when I grew up, of course, everything I wanted, it came from Japan. All the technology, all the innovation came from here. Listening to the panel this morning, it sounds like all is great. You know, everyone has initiatives, we're moving forward. But also if you look at what the president of SoftBank said, you know, there are some very bleak prospects. The future also looks challenging on a global context. So I'm very happy to listen about this electrification approach, both when it comes to boats and to cars. And instead of seeing all the problems, it's also very easy to say if you live in a huge city like Tokyo, or it's problematic to charge, where do these earth metals come from that will create the batteries? I think Japan, you are a role model, and you have been for such a long time, of showing that innovation, technical solutions, with the Kyoto Protocol even, also that sustainability is possible. So I would like to encourage Japan, central government, prefectures, and also municipalities and companies to be a bit more, excuse my language, cocky, to be a bit more secure of yourself and say, we have the solutions and we will try. I think the challenge for the future is we cannot sit and draw everything out on a map or an Excel sheet before it happens. Now we have to dare to be innovative and think like Nobel Prize winners. If we are waiting for the perfect map or instruction to be on the table before we do it, it's too late. So let's try to do a bit more trial and error. But it's very encouraging to listen to what happens in companies and in counties and in municipalities. Thank you.
大使どうもありがとうございます。我々
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for your input. So you said you are very pleased to hear the local initiatives, and also you praised our initiatives in Japan. And everyone is working very hard to move forward towards the global goals. So your comment itself was very, very encouraging for us. So thank you so much for your valuable input. Now, we would like to close the discussion on the topic 1 and like to move on to the second topic. Second topic is the regional revitalization with digitalization. Again, we would like to give 15 minutes. So we would like to ask each speaker to speak like 3 minutes. Now, I would like to pick on you once again, Ambassador. So, Ambassador, based on your experience in Sweden, well, Sweden is very strong globally in terms of digital competitiveness. It's third in the world. So what are the factors contributed to this great achievement? That's the first question to you. And what barriers do you see to the further promotion of digitalization?
Thank you so much. As I said in my brief presentation, it has been demand-driven in my country. So for different reasons, the Swedish people have felt that we want to have increased digitalization because it helps us. Very much so, I think, because it's a huge country and it's not so large, it's not so densely populated, so it takes a lot of time to move between cities, to do your errands, to see the doctor, to go to the library. So all this, it's a demand-driven approach. And then I think the trust is really there. I would like to make a mention of something we have. I didn't think about this before I came to Japan, that the my number discussion that you are having in Japan. A Swedish person, when you are born or when you become Swedish, you get the number, you cannot apply for it, you get it. And that number is yours for the rest of your life, and so much of what you do is actually connected to this my number or your citizen code. It might sound a little scary from one sense because tax authorities, banks, universities, doctors, insurance companies, you can be very easily connected. So if you are on the worried side, you might feel that authorities have a very, very clear picture of you. I used to say to some Japanese friends that I think the Swedish tax authorities know more about my economy than I know myself. And that's not always pleasant, but it makes it very practical. Because by the coordination by our digital agencies, we save immense amounts of time. Doing your taxes takes 30 seconds, you just click, or you send an SMS, it's done. To do administration, to get a new cell phone subscription takes 30 seconds, click, and it's done. So all these administrative routines, and I fully understand and realize Japan and Sweden are different societies and there are different reasons for this. But I think my feeling is in Japan after 3.5 years, also the Japanese people are looking for efficiency here. They don't enjoy particularly to spend a lot of time in queues or administrative issues. So my recommendation from me would actually be that the My Number reform and the digitalization agency is actually more crucial than one might think for the whole society's transformation to a more efficient. And let's be honest, it's not only about efficiency, it's also about what we do with the time when we do not work. I think the role of a government, governors and municipalities, is to make society as possible as ever possible for each individual to fulfill their dreams, whatever it is. Career, sports, do nothing. I don't know what the dreams are, but to create as little hassle as possible in a society, and here digitalization is key. Those would be a few thoughts. Thank you.
ありがとうございます。マイナンバー
Thank you very much. My Number system, Swedish initiative introduced its own similar to My Number system. And what is a society as a digitalized? And next, I'd like to have a comment from Mr. Takenaka. Mass project. What benefits have you enjoyed so far as a result of mass? Kamishihodocho City, and you are aiming at the Society 5.0, and you are going to achieve the smart town. So, do you have your thought about your goal? First, regarding digitalization, I have a strong interest in digitalization. I think I have this interest for a long time. Of course, we have the regional challenges such as depopulation, and also, because of depopulation, the regional economy has been shrinking. But how to address those challenges? First, city and also region, there is a long distance between the urban city and the rural area, but we can shorten the time by digitalization. So our target is the goods or products or the communication people. That I think we have to communicate with urban people as well. And we have to digitalize our regions. And we have been doing this initiative for almost 20 years. And we are aiming at the smart town. And also, we have to shorten the gap between the metropolitan area and the rural area. By digitalization, we can be more efficient to narrow the gap between the two regions. And also, as regard to the mass, the people are going out of town because of transportation. The elderly people come from rural area to urban area because they need care. And some people reach 90, but they cannot return the driver's license because there is no public transportation. And we have to resolve those transportation issues, otherwise we'll be exhausted, including the residents. That's why I had a strong interest in mass. And on a regular basis, we have the regular bus service. And in Hokkaido, to bus stop, it is like 100 meters to come to the nearest bus stop. So, and in the very cold winter, people have to wait for the bus at the bus stop in the remote area. And the people think they cannot live in the city. And that's why some people are moving out. And that is one of the reasons that we came up with this scheme. And We had a regular bus service, even if there is no passengers, but we had a service of bus. But if there is no passengers, we can eliminate the bus service, or we can pick up some people at their house. So in the rural area, they don't think it's inconvenient. And also about the logistic issue, and we have the 2024 issue. We have a shortage of drivers for logistic vehicles, and also gas. As for the gasoline cars, we have another issue. And thinking about this, so drone is one way to resolve this issue, because we can deliver products by drone, and there is some deregulation about the drone delivery. Of course, there are some other challenges to transportation, including logistics, the challenges. And Hokkaido, I think we are working on those challenges in the remote town in Hokkaido. And our digital initiatives, not only to that, but also education, agriculture, there are various fields we can use our technologies. So we can develop our towns based on the technology. And each digital have the tablet. We want to connect with network, and we want to build a foundation or infrastructures so we can centralize the management of the network. That is the next stage. And then, in line with the reform of working styles, some people can work in a remote area because of digitalization. So we want to further utilize the digital in the future. Takenaka, the mayor of the Hokkaido Kamishihoro City. And I really understand the benefits of the digitalization. So DX and GX in the combination, nobody is left behind as a result of our initiatives. And Mr. Naito, as a municipality and also SDGs, the future city, now we are hearing the Japan and overseas examples. What do you take? Thank you very much. And in Sweden, and citizens are asking for efficiency. I think that is the same in Japan, because as the top of municipalities, we have heard similar voices from citizens. But in the rural area, we haven't invested a lot in those initiatives, and Tokushima is one of them. We had a little investment in the past, but now we want to change that. And in Tokushima, as a regional city, we are working on the efficiency and also digitalization. And regional towns should work on their own challenges. And in terms of GX, they should have their ownership to work on those initiatives through the private-public partnership. Thank you very much.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much. Now I would like to call upon Mr. Goto, after listening to the various initiatives taken by the municipalities, and also since Mayor Naito from Tokushima City is here, could you also share your thoughts about the future collaboration with municipalities? The mayor of Kamishihoro town talked about the mass mobility as a service. The energy management project is being implemented in Namie town, and I think their project is quite similar to what's happening in Kamishihoro. It's not autonomous driving, but we look into the public transportation system. The Namie town, everyone had to evacuate after the nuclear power plant accident. And at that time, 20,000 people were living, but everyone had to evacuate, and only limited number of people have returned to the town, and mostly elderly. And there is no bus services, there are no taxis available. Therefore, Nissan Motors came to look into the matter. With the subsidies from the reconstruction agency, we are doing this demonstration test. It is important to develop the system, and also we need to reduce the cost for operation as well. and still provide the needed mobility. So there are more than 100 locations of the digital bus stop, and using the smartphones, you could request the bus service. And we would like to make the system as compact and as efficient as possible. January this year, we started introducing the paid services to see the effectiveness. It would not be possible for us to pay all the labor cost using the fees we get from the services. However, we have some sort of subsidies, assistance from subsidies, and we are trying to configure the system which is viable with paid services. And if we could successfully implement that, we'll be able to roll that out globally. As for the Blue Switch initiative, from the different perspectives, we are exploring the issues. So Kamishihara Town and Tokushima cities could be our potential partners under Blue Switch project so that we could explore further potentials. Thank you very much. The municipality, local governments, and the private sector companies can collaborate, and you can benefit from the hometown tax design for the private sector companies. And hope we could continue this discussion, but we have to conclude this session in the interest of time. So we need to build the diverse partnership and then powerfully promote the resolution of the regional issues. And based on the diverse partnership, we need to encourage people to have ownership over the various issues. And Ambassador, you said that you encourage Japan to become a role model in driving and technology and innovation, and also for the region to pursue the decarbonization. I think there are a lot of significance in doing so. In terms of the significance, I would like to once again quote from Ambassador's comments. In your presentation, Ambassador, you said that through GX and DX, you were able to increase the population as well as employment. GX and DX is a means to create the human-centered, sustainable community, because that brought back employment, that brought back people. So it really helpful in creating a human-centered society. So we can learn from that experience in Sweden. And then based on that learning, we could drive the new initiatives at the municipalities in Japan. Hopefully that you have something that you can take back. Thank you everyone for your valuable contributions, and thank you everyone for your valuable time as well. Thank you very much. Thank you for the distinguished panelists. Once again, a round of applause to everyone. Thank you.